For decades, feminist theory and cultural studies have focused on how bodies are constructed through language, discourse, and social norms. But Stacy Alaimo argues that this focus on discourse has left something crucial behind: matter. The body has been treated as curiously abiological, a blank slate for cultural inscription rather than living, breathing entity enmeshed with the wider world. Alaimo proposes a different approach. She asks us to imagine human corporeality as what she calls transcorporeality, the recognition that the human body is always intermeshed with more than human world. Environment is not somewhere out there, but is always as close as our own skin. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the toxins that accumulate in our tissues, these connect us materially to global systems of production, consumption, and waste. This is not just a philosophical abstraction. Environmental justice movements, environmental health activism, and ordinary people struggling with pollution and illness all demonstrate that the boundaries between self and world are porous. Transcorporeality names this permeability and insists that we take it seriously both ethically and politically. Social constructionism has been a powerful tool for feminist critique. It showed that gender is not biologically determined but culturally produced. It revealed that race is a social category, not a natural fact. These insights were liberating, but they came with a cost. By treating the body as purely discursive, as something produced by language and culture, social constructionism made matter disappear. The body became a site of meaning making but lost its material substance. As Barrett puts it, matter was reduced to little bits of nature or a blank slate of signification. This creates problems of environmentalism. If the body is just a cultural construct, then pollution, toxins, and environmental degradation become matters of discourse rather than material reality. Social constructionism colludes with commercialism by suggesting that we can simply replace the natural with the artifactual. It provides a model of human existence that claims independence from natural processes. Transcorporeality offers an alternative. It insists that bodies are not just constructed but are also constituted through material exchanges with their environments. This doesn't mean abandoning cultural analysis, it means supplementing it with attention to the flesh and blood realities of existence. The contact zone between human bodies and the environment is where transcorporeality becomes visible. Environmental health movements, for example, trace how toxic substances move from industrial sites into human tissues. Workers exposed to silica develop silicosis, a proletarian lung that testifies to the material effects of class oppression. Communities of color living near toxic waste sites bear the burden of environmental racism. These are not just social problems, they are physical realities inscribed on bodies. Alaimo shows how environmental justice literature, from Muriel Rukeyser's Book of the Dead to Anna Castillo's So Far from God, dramatizes the struggle to make invisible toxins visible. The X-ray becomes a tool for revealing the silica in a miner's lungs. The body burden test documents the chemicals accumulating in our tissues. But scientific mediation is never neutral. Those who are most affected by environmental harm often lack access to the knowledge and technology needed to prove their case. They become ordinary experts, cobbling together scientific knowledges to survive in what Ulrich Beck calls risk society. In risk society, dangers are often invisible and require scientific interpretation. Citizens must become popular epidemiologists to protect themselves. A new genre has emerged from this landscape of risk, the material memoir. Writers like Sandra Steingraber, Susan Antonetta, and Audre Lorde tell stories about bodies that are inseparable from their environments. In Living Downstream, Steingraber investigates the environmental causes of her own bladder cancer, tracing how chemicals from agriculture and industry flow through waterways into human tissues. In Body Toxic, Antonetta describes growing up in one of the most contaminated areas of New Jersey. Her body carries the marks of that place: infertility, tumors, a deformed uterus. She imagines blood tests for place, a way of reading the landscape through the substance of her own flesh. This is transcorporeality made visible. The self is literally composed of the material world it inhabits. These memoirs are not just personal narratives, they are political interventions. They challenge the medical establishment's tendency to separate bodies from environments. They counter the chemical industry's manufactured ignorance. They insist that self knowledge in risk society requires scientific understanding of a vast, interconnected materiality. Multiple chemical sensitivity (MCS) pushes transcorporeality to its extreme. People with MCS react to chemicals in everyday products: perfumes, cleaning agents, new carpet, fabric softeners. Their bodies become scientific instruments, registering exposures that others cannot perceive. The scientific and medical establishment has been deeply skeptical of MCS. Many doctors dismiss it as psychosomatic, a figment of the patient's imagination. But as Alaimo argues, this dismissal is itself ideological. It assumes that psychological conditions are somehow less real than physical ones. It ignores the fact that chemicals can affect neurological systems. It absolves industry and government of responsibility for the toxic environment. MCS also challenges our conception of the human. If a couch or a piece of clothing can make you sick, then the boundaries between self and world are not just blurry, they are actively harmful. People with MCS must create safe spaces by removing themselves from ordinary environments. But as Rhonda Swillinger's photographs show, these spaces are always provisional. The toxic world seeps in. The recognition that we are transcorporeal beings, always entangled with our environments, demands a new ethics. This is not the ethics of bounded individuals making rational choices. It is an ethics of entanglement, responsibility, and precaution. Alaimo draws on Barrett's concept of interaction to develop this ethics. For Barrett, entities do not pre-exist their relations. They emerge through specific interactions. Matter is not a thing but a doing, an ongoing process of becoming. We are part of the world, not separate from it. Ethics is about accounting for our part in the tangled webs we weave. This has practical implications. The precautionary principle states when an activity threatens harm, precautionary measures should be taken even if cause and effect are not fully established. This principle shifts the burden of proof from the public to the polluter. It acknowledges that we cannot wait for certainty before acting to protect health and the environment. Post-human environmental ethics also challenges human exceptionalism. If human bodies are continuous with the rest of the natural world, then the distinction between human and non-human cannot justify exploitation. Animals, ecosystems, even dirt itself have agency and deserve consideration. Alaimo's vision is not anthropocentric. It is accountable to a material world that is always the very substance of ourselves and others. Bodily Natures offers a powerful corrective to the disembodied, dematerializing tendencies of much contemporary theory. By attending to the material interconnections between human bodies and the more than human world, Alaimo opens up new ethical and political possibilities. Transcorporeality insists that environment is not somewhere out there but is always within us, as close as our own skin. This recognition demands new modes of knowing and acting. We must become ordinary experts tracking the invisible flows of toxins through our bodies and environments. We must adopt precautionary principles rather than waiting for certainty. We must acknowledge that our health is inseparable from the health of the world around us.